Alrighty then. Welcome to Three Things with Ian, episode 35. Let's dive in. Just did an update on this computer, and it took a lot longer than anticipated. I kept saying tomorrow. Eventually, I said, okay, let's do it today. I clicked the install button. It was like 23 minutes. Whole time I was thinking to myself, why doesn't it give me an estimated time? Before they would be like, you have 500 megabytes, and they'd be like, well, I don't know what that means. Is that a short thing? Is that a small thing? Give me an estimation on time here. Tell me it's a 20-minute update. I was expecting a quick turnaround, and I waited a lot longer than anticipated. So how about some radical transparency? I don't know why sometimes things that are super easy, they would be super beneficial, just don't happen. They're not even on the drawing table. For updates, just tell me how long it's going to be. Even small, medium, large. Is this a small update? Is this a medium update? Is this a large update? Give me something. Okay, my number two thing. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Perhaps the biggest single day in sports in America. Not globally. Soccer's way bigger. I'm not going to give you a prediction for who's going to win. My predictions are garbage. I am completely, embarrassingly off by multitudes whenever I predict a game. So instead, I kind of like thinking about other stuff involving sports. I always think about things like, how much does coaching matter? How much does talent matter? And so let's spend a few minutes just talking about some larger themes about football in general. And this conversation has the asterisk of, I'm not going to talk about quarterbacks. That's a whole other thing. But I was thinking to myself, when we look at there's 3 or 4 wide receivers that get the bulk of the catches. Wide receivers 1, 2, and 3 in the depth chart. I'm thinking to myself, how much variation, how much difference is there in aptitude from your across the teams, right? The wide receiving core for the Patriots versus the Chiefs versus anybody else. My gut feeling is that it's 10, 12, maybe 14% difference between the best and the not so best. In other words, I'm always thinking to myself, how do certain teams just always find their way in the winning column? Obviously, they have a great quarterback, and they have at least good coaching. I'm not even going to say they have elite coaching. At least they have better than average coaching. The running backs are a dime a dozen, okay? You're looking at somebody that gets you 3.2 yards versus 4.7 yards, and just is effective at moving the ball downfield in a way that you can trust them. And if you can't, you get somebody else in the door. So quarterbacks and running backs are kind of a wash. So for me, it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, wide receivers. It's a passing league. They're super involved. Everyone's got good hands. Everyone's got good speed. Everyone's fairly the same size. I mean, yes, there's differences in size, but you don't have someone who's like 5'3", and you don't have someone who's 7 foot, right? It's maybe between 5'11" and 6'4". That's your range. So KC keeps winning. I will say something I thought about on the ride over today was the playoffs for football are exceptionally abbreviated, right? The Chiefs and Eagles are going to play 3 games. Someone will be 3-0 in the playoffs and win a championship. That doesn't get you out of that first round for anybody else, right? So I do think part of the draw for football is that you get 60 minutes to give it all you can. And that's because essentially you're getting beaten up. And so they can't do a best of 3 series because it would take 3 weeks, right? So those are just some musings on football. I don't understand much about the game, I guess, in terms of like the top level stuff. But I'm always interested in how much does talent matter, how much does coaching matter. Those are just some of my thoughts. In terms of my next thing, I'm going to advocate a TV show that is kind of one of my like go-tos when I want to spend 23 minutes with something that's comfort. It's my comfort TV show, Frasier. I think I'm on like season 7. Those old shows ran forever. 14 seasons, 23 episodes, right? Those were the glory days of like just churn and just a ton of episode. Not much happened as a result because you had to kind of pace yourself, right? You couldn't do these huge jumps. But I didn't think I'd ever be a Frasier guy, but I am a Frasier guy because I really just find it incredibly enjoyable, right? There's no bad episodes. Some definitely jump out, but it's so consistent and it's so intelligent, right? The humor. So when something goes wrong, with Frasier, he's the only one that's hurt, right? So the show is very good about the fact that when he fails at something, only he basically is injured. I mean, occasionally, like his woman of the month goes through something, which is not very pleasant for them. But essentially, when Frasier goofs up and he has these hairball comedian episodes, right? It's just him. So no one else, it's not malicious. There's no animosity. No one else is like on Friends and other shows. Sometimes it's just kind of mean spirited and you just kind of feel bad and weird inside. I don't feel bad when I watch Frasier, right? The emotional depth is just, it's very elevating. Okay. And it's timeless. I mean, essentially they're doing a live action stage play. It's very theatrical, very thespian. It's almost Shakespearean. I mean, the quick banter, the dialogue. I mean, famously, Kelsey Grammer would look at the notes, spend 20 minutes to himself, and then he would just do it. He just rip through it. Him and Niles are just absolutely born to play those roles, I think. I've never seen a show where top to bottom, your main 5 characters, I'm never disappointed when I see them. I'm always happy to see any one of them. Right? So I am not through Frasier. I'm definitely through the Skullet days. Season 1 is wild. The choices are wild. I do just think that Frasier is basically an average looking dude, and I kind of appreciate that the people on the show are just, they look like humans. They look like not like me per se, but they look like us. I find that very endearing. So I think it's important when you have, like, I have these lists of like prestige kind of bougie stuff where I'm kind of like, okay, I got to be locked and loaded, no more than 2 episodes a night of these things. I want to feel it. I want to get all the feels in. Put on Frasier. What is your go-to show? What is like the chicken noodle soup for you for TV? I want to hear about that. Okay, my third thing. One thing that I want to kind of throw into the mix is I want to spend every couple episodes, I don't know the frequency, doing like a 90-second, 2-minute elevator pitch for a business, kind of like mini Shark Tank. I used to love kind of doing this in my spare time, and I think throwing these kind of like interesting business proposals out there are really fun. I think it's a fun exercise. So look for those coming up. So I guess my episode today was a lot of rambling on sports, and then we talked about Frasier, which is just, I want to watch it right now. I want to leave this episode. I want to watch Frasier. And I think you do too. And then look for these little sprinklings of like little business ideas. I'd love to hear yours if you have any. I won't steal, I promise. The crazier, the better, I think. As long as that makes sense. Anyway, that was 3 Things with Ian. I will see you tomorrow. Keep going, guys. You got this.